Yep.
All right, we are live here, continuing on with the THP Showcase here in the THP Tech Studio. Today, we are graced with the presence of none other than Keenan Phillips from True Temper Project X. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm glad to have you.
Happy to be here. Happy to see the studio in person finally. It's really sweet.
It's a little bit of something, isn't it?
It is.
So we'll let some people trickle in. If you guys have early questions for Keenan, please don't be afraid to ask. We were supposed to have Don Brown in to answer some pretty heavy tech questions. To my understanding, he's currently piloting a plane somewhere in the Caribbean. I'm assuming he's a big deal.
That's yeah, just Don doing Don stuff.
Yeah. This actually, if you want to kick it off and tell us a little bit about the connection you guys have with the latest Callaway release. We were in the tech studio a couple of nights ago having a ton of fun with the new Apex lineup. We noticed that you have 3 different Elevate shafts, which has got to be a pretty big deal for you guys. Mm-hmm. And they blended really well throughout the line. I'm going to just let you run with that.
Yeah, so that's something we worked on with Callaway for a while. So obviously we had the original Elevate 95 and Elevate Tour with them, which were a great success for us. They loved the concept. They loved the brand. We just wanted to realize we wanted to think how we could make it better. And so the thing we often found with softer, kind of higher launching products, more mid-launching products, is you get a little excess droop, excess lag. And because of that, sometimes that strike can just suffer a little bit. So with Elevate ETS, we have 115 right here in the Apex Pro. And like you said, we have a 95 and 85 version as well. We actually, our wall thickness, we can vary at True Temper. So it's something really unique to us. And so we increased that wall thickness 30% more in the tip section there to provide that more stable tip, so that enhanced tip stability, that ETS aspect. And just provide a more centered
while you guys
strike.
are,
I hear everyone laughing back here probably. But yeah, so that more centered strike, that more stable feel and crisp feel through the turf. Okay. So a lot of positive feedback from it.
Yeah, it was fun hitting them. It was not fun getting roasted live because every time I switched a head and a shaft, obviously different weights, profiles, it took me a couple swings to get used to. But once I did, you get a fairly similar profile in the way that it feedbacks.
Definitely. So that lighter weight option's been huge. Adding the 85 just for that DCV player as well.
Okay.
It's going to be a great offering for us, and the 115 we're excited about too.
Yeah, I think we're a little slap happy here in the studio. We got a couple onlookers giggling.
Well, they really want to know what Keenan's lifting routine is.
Enjoying Shipley's.
They're
Yeah.
comparing him to Molinari, calling him Swolinari.
Swollen.
Oh my
Big
God.
question, though, is rope hat versus joggers.
Oh, I'm a fan of all. I saw Vosh's pants, how tight they were yesterday. And so I tried to do some legs.
Those things look like
last
they're painted on.
I know. I'm a little self-conscious about my legs.
Did you
now.
happen to watch most of that and see that we actually had a competition last night?
I saw it all, and the sponsors are 0-1.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're counting sponsors 0-1. Good point. THP won. Sponsors nothing.
I'm going to go hide now.
Actually, technically, it's 2-0 for us because I was forced into a closest to the pin to finish.
I saw that, unfortunately, for Vosh.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest. I've seen what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
I know I'm an underdog.
Okay.
I
mean, now that they've seen the gun show, is he really an underdog?
I'm really just trying to intimidate J-Man.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's all mental.
Is that why you wore like the, because I'm like Ohio January. You're like, middle of the country January. Obviously, you care a lot more about that than I do. I'm hiding all of that under this awesome Travis Matthew piece of outerwear, which you're obviously jealous of. So
I am. I would maybe like a little more coverage going on now. I feel a little bare up here.
A little judged.
I do.
Welcome to THP Live.
I know. Apparently so. I shouldn't have those 2 donuts before.
Yeah, you should have 2 more to make me feel better. Probably. So any questions you guys have, please bring them to us. Also, we have a couple different Project X offerings. We have the IO and the I have not hit yet LS, which I'm super excited about because you've played a little bit with me before. That's probably what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. I was a big PXI guy, but never felt like I could play it. I'm a high ball hitter. I think that supported a lot of that launch, but the feel in the middle of that shaft was unbelievable.
So that was a huge thing for us with PXI. The feel aspect, it provided that feel option for that Project X line at the time, that lighter weight option. And PXIO really started there with PXI and kind of evolved from it. So that IO, that individually optimized standpoint. So little lighter weight in that 5.5 goes back to that 110 region in the 6.0, and then little heavier, little lower trajectory in the 6.5 at 115. But it's a shaft that we actually have a ton of people playing in the industry, which is always a good sign.
That's cool.
People at TaylorMade, people at ECPC and Callaway, a lot of their fitters. It's a shaft that fits a lot of players and feels really, really good. That's the thing I stress with that shaft a lot is how good it feels.
And it looks pretty good too.
Yeah, it ain't bad.
I'll tell you what. I've been hitting it in the X-Forge CB, and I was kind of running the X-Forge CB up against the Apex Pro. And I believe we will have the Pro ready with LS, which is probably a good fit for us because the X-Forge CB isn't likely to promote as much launch based on design alone. So what is your early on guess before I actually do hit some shots on IO versus LS and the two heads we have set up?
And two heads, so with the X-Forge CB and the Apex Pro?
Yeah.
I think you're going
to hit Apex Pro for the first time.
I did, and that thing's a rocket.
Hot, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're going to be hitting some bombs with the Apex Pro, and that IO is going to maybe give you and that X-Forge CB a little more playable ball for you.
Okay. But
I know you do like you are a high ball hitter as it is.
Yeah.
So
I've been told that
Apex Pro and that LS might be like a distance magnet for you.
You know, I got judged pretty heavily this morning when I was trying to warm up a bit, which, I mean, I'm 2 days in, and again, January doughy. So it's been difficult for me to maintain my, movement.
Yep.
And I got beat up pretty bad based on the fact that IO was incredibly controlled with this X-Forge CB head that I was creating a smiley face on the screen. I'm not used to being judged that way. Usually it's like a negative thing that I get hit with, especially from you guys last night. If you are coming in from what happened last night, I did get a wet one.
I saw that,
which hurt me.
Only one, though.
Yeah, that was only one. Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions coming in, guys?
We got two. First off, they want to know what shafts you play through the bag.
So I have RDX Blue 70 TX in the driver. Ever since we came out with RDX Blue, it's
TX.
Here's where Anyway,
wow. Internet golfer.
I'm loving that shaft. It is phenomenal in it. It is the straightest I've hit the ball. I'm not even trying to promote the shaft. It is the straightest I've hit. It just matches well with my swing. Really like to have a little more feel from a driver because the problem that I have a lot of times is I tend to get a little quick, and when I do, I kind of lose that feel aspect, that flow aspect. So I feel like having that softer midsection almost allows me to feel that load and almost triggers it at the top for me and lets me know when I'm ready to start my downswing. I have RDX Black in the 3-wood, 80 gram TX. And then RDX Black 100.
Why does he keep looking at me with the TX instead of the camera?
Because I get self-conscious about it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Especially after the shirt. I'm just going to be self-conscious this whole time.
I think we have a jacket somewhere you can wear.
I know, right?
How about the irons?
Irons, I'm X100s and S4 in the wedges. That set we're building with LS was my set of LS for my next set of irons. So I do want to try the LS a lot. I've tried the 7.0 and a 7 iron that I've had for probably 4 or 5 months now, and I've loved it. I've just been too scared to switch it and too lazy to go build it. Okay. But I'm thinking LS might be in the bag before the summer comes.
I'll tell you what, that was a good what's in the bag. It's not the longest we've heard. But yeah, it's very good. Do we have other questions?
We do. So you guys are talking about lower flight, but we've got some questions about what profile and or shaft would be good for those seeking out a higher ball flight.
So higher ball flight, you're always going to want to generally look for something that's a little more soft in the tip. So you're going to help get that tip deflection more, help get that ball in the air, help increase that dynamic loft as much as you can. So whether that's with your woods, we have some Cypher from the graphite side of things, which you're going to see as well. And something in that Elevate 95, Elevate 85 range from a lighter weight perspective, or even Elevate 115 for a more midweight perspective.
Okay.
The other one we have right now currently is what are Keenan's thoughts on graphite wedge shafts?
Graphite wedge shafts are great. They can have, so we actually have some through our Acro line.
Yeah.
Some really cool ones, even at 130 grams. And at that, once you get to that weight, that feel aspect is just so different. So something not a lot of players are used to, but at least for the accuracy standpoint, from that 130 gram part, we've still seen really good results. So all good with it.
So Acro's still relatively new with your brand. How has that transition been? Have you enjoyed the addition of that lineup? And they do have a little bit more of that boutique feel. Is that certainly resonating for you guys with them?
That is. So that's Acro has always been that kind of boutique brand, and we're going to keep it that way. Plan to keep it that way. Keep it authentic and to its roots. Just hoping to kind of increase some of their R&D capabilities. Kind of turnaround time from that standpoint has been huge. So samples for them used to take multiple months to get kind of dialed in. And with our lab out in San Diego, we can have a sample for them in a week. So hoping to kind of increase their R&D stuff a lot there. And hopefully throughout this year, we have a lot of new products coming with them that we're excited about, and next year as well. So we already have some planned.
Great. So we have irons here, and Elevate and IO, and I don't know where we stand on the LS. Is it going to be?
It's curing right now.
Great. So we're curing.
So we got a couple more questions.
So we have more questions.
Yeah,
Great.
I do. So first off, does a softer tip hurt dispersion?
We'll start with graphite woods, for instance. Graphite woods, we can control that a little more with adding some torsional plies down there, really trying to stabilize that tip in a different way. And then with Elevate ETS, that's the whole big part about that enhanced tip stability, is sometimes, in that softer tip design, depending on the product, if it's not matching up well for your swing, you can sometimes see some variances in strike there. So just adding that enhanced tip stability, that wall thickness increase, which once again we can do, that's unique to us, that not all our competitors can, is really a big advantage for our higher launching products.
And then naturally, they would like to know what your driver swing speed is.
We're gonna find out tonight. I have no idea. Last time I checked, around 118.
Yeah.
But we might have the adrenaline going on camera, so maybe we'll touch 120.
So we'll definitely get those numbers for you at some point today.
We don't want to see the efficiency rating, though.
We don't?
No.
I do.
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
So speaking about drivers, we've had an awesome amount of engagement from the OEMs in your lineup. I've been a long time observer and obsessor over Hazardous Yellow specifically.
Yep.
But can you expand a little bit on what's changed for 2021 for you guys from an OEM standpoint, what your hottest driver shaft is and what people can look for when they're looking for your shafts out there?
Yeah, so really our RDX line is going to be two main products, our RDX Black and then our RDX Blue. So RDX Black is going to kind of take place of that Hazardous Black, that smoke black product we've had. Fits a wide range of players, that that aggressive hazardous style of player, have a little stiffer midsection to keep up with players. And then our RDX Blue is going to be more in line with our yellow of the past that you've liked. So our counterbalanced offering, a little softer midsection and a stiff butt, stiff tip to offset that. I see you smiling.
Well, you said liked. I was like, oh, it's kind of been an obsession. So I don't like is a little soft for me.
There you go. Well, and then we have a few new ones as well that are coming out. You might hear them in a couple of days with another guest.
We got something else going on.
We got something else going on. So we have our new Smoke IM10 line. So we have a mid-launch and a low-launch design. And then we also have Cypher, which is one we're really excited about. Cool. And Don Brown has been obsessing over for months now.
I would have loved to, it's too bad he's flying a plane somewhere that we can't hear from the source himself.
I love how you can say he's flying the plane. I'm just visualizing
Don if he's on a plane, he's flying.
That's it, right? Yeah.
With a beer in hand or something like that.
Probably so.
Yeah. So the one thing I'm curious about, because I know when I transitioned from my the original Hazardous Yellow, I was a little bit confused as to what changed when it went to smoke, and now you've got some different colors. What is the most significant change from a guy who's coming from a Hazardous of the past into some of the new product offerings that are out there?
Yeah, so from the Hazardous of the past, what you're going to feel in the black line for me, it's tough to say a feel increase because torsionally speaking, feel speaking throughout the shaft, you shouldn't really feel a huge feel difference. But with that different material we're using this year, with that Hexel Hextone material, for whatever reason throughout the shaft, it just feels really crisp, really smooth through impact. So for some players that maybe thought, Hazardous Black in the past, Smoke Black was a little too stout for them or a little harsh, I think that's really taken care of some of those problems. And then from the Smoke Blue standpoint, once again, that material difference is it's huge for us. So Hexel, for those who don't know, is actually the leading manufacturer of U.S. military grade carbon fiber. And they only make aerospace grade carbon fiber. So it's all super high end product or super high end material. And that Smoke Blue RDX, once again, I've been gushing over it for a while now.
Do we have another question?
There was a question about Hexel in particular and exactly what its role is and what it's done for you guys as far as shaft design is concerned.
Yeah, so no, it's huge what they have to offer, not just from a quality standpoint, but from the different materials they have. IM10 is one of their special materials too. So it was actually the first material to surpass 1000 KSI, which is a strength measurement of graphite. So it's really strong and also really stiff. So it's really unique from that standpoint. Most graphite weaves or graphite plies are either really stiff and not that strong, or really strong and not that stiff. But IM10 is one that's really unique and just allows multiple options from a weight and flex standpoint.
So I'm going to go a little bit off track here because it's what I do. I mean, you were on off course, and you know what I end up doing, right?
I do.
We had a really fun event with you guys at Hammock Beach. Was your favorite part of that playing the conservatory or the Villa Crawl?
From what I remember from the Villa Crawl, it was pretty fun.
Yeah. So for all you guys out there, if anyone from the event is listening in, that was a really, really good time. 2 incredible golf courses. You guys really brought it with your offerings. That was so much fun for us.
That was a blast. I think I remember that night, obviously much more than Scott does.
Yeah.
I remember downing, I think, back-to-back Serrano peppers just because, It was about 11:30 at night, and just because they were on the table.
Oh, it hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of that.
A lot of hiccups coming
Spicy tequila mules were. Yeah.
Those were.
They were so
dangerous.
Do we have a couple more questions?
We do. One we get a lot, and I know you've heard, but with Project X being stock shaft in a lot of clubs, there's the question about, are they not made for? Are they made for?
Yep. So every Project X shaft that'll be stock in this year's. Thanks, Josh. Every stock shaft that'll be stock this year for us is real deal Holyfield. There are no. I wanted to say that. I was thinking about
real
it. Real deal
Holyfield.
Yeah, it sounded better in my head. It
sits really well on your head with that hat.
It did. It sounded pretty lame out loud. They're all real deal shafts though. Nothing watered down, nothing made for. So all aftermarket available options.
Okay. I'm rattled. I don't know what to say. I keep looking up the hat. It's obviously one you've had in play before because there's a little bit of golf on it. I can see
there's a little bit of golf on
How
there.
critical is a rope hat for your repertoire?
I mean, I think.
Does it define you?
It almost defines me.
Okay.
You know,
Hang himself after the holy.
Yeah. Because that's stuck. This is live. We can't hide.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay.
I'll say it again.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We got real deal Holyfield shafts.
And
Project
that's
X.
the industry, and thanks for coming.
Real deal Holyfield. No, but the rope hat, it's not. I do a lot more junior stuff, a lot more college stuff now. You know,
I know I do it, right?
Yeah, I don't have time to introduce myself to all these players that I see a lot of times, and sometimes they just see the rope hat and remember me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's you now.
It's me now.
It's a you thing.
It is. Hopefully, we actually have a lot of cool hat offerings coming this year that we're working on. So that aren't just rope hats.
Okay.
So I'm excited for some of those premiums.
Strong play.
Yeah.
People love the rope hat.
I appreciate that.
That's true. Do we have anything else? Has anyone suggested the iron shafts they want us to start with, or
I think
Yeah.
we did ask early on.
Yeah.
If
We
you
got-
guys, if there's you want us just to start with Elevate and walk through that lineup while LS continues to cure, and then we'll move into IO and LS. Does that work?
Sounds perfect.
You want me to hit or you want to hit?
Oh, you hit.
I'll hit. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'll take that for you.
what do you think we do do we start with the pros and move into the regular Apex and then the DCB? So we're going lighter, or you want to start lighter and go heavier?
I'd probably start lighter, go heavier.
Okay.
You
So-
can warm up that strike pattern a little bit.
Okay. I think everything we've got is in a 6 iron, which is, super easy to hit, especially when we're live. So we'll pull those out right now. That's a CB. I'm gonna start
Josh
DCB.
cracking up off screen.
So yeah, unfortunately, Josh is not mic'd up, but we're
Said, hey, it's rope hat guy. Real deal Holyfield.
That's it. I have to change all my social media handles now.
so the real funny story. Well, you got your rope hat thing. I've been long known on THP as a guy who doesn't tie his golf shoes, and it actually the guy hiding behind the screen it used to rattle him like a lot.
Look at
and
that.
I was not ready for the stream in the fact that I actually still have my running shoes on, which as do you. So within about a minute left, I ran back, got my quaders, and they're untied now. So you got the rope hat, I got the untied shoes.
And if anyone can see, he's got pink socks rocking too. So he's got that going for
I
him.
do like these pink socks, unavoidable, and a pink shirt.
Yeah, it's like you almost planned it.
Yeah, that was me. All right, let's see how warmed up we are. That is typical starting swing. So one thing that I noticed, and I put a decent move on the ball. I got enough speed that I would certainly experience a shaft bend a little bit if I was having trouble timing it right. I didn't notice, and even with that one right there, I don't really notice a significant amount of loss of control. That has to be pretty telling for Elevate.
Yeah, so that's something that the only feedback we really got that was a negative sense from the original line was sometimes, like we mentioned with those softer tip, higher launching shafts, just controlling that tip a little more, adding that little extra stability was huge for us with this line. And being able to do that in the, the 95 and 85, those lighter weight offerings is going to be really, really big for a lot of players that are going to fit into those. Oh, be good.
Uh-oh.
Would have to move this flag back a bit.
So strong.
DCBs,
Yeah.
man. And that was a little heavy too. So we're really struggling to stay on line here, as you guys can see.
Elevate, enhanced tip stability. We'll
So-
pay you later.
Any questions coming in about DCB? We have Elevate 85 and Stiff Flex in hand right now.
The biggest question we had on that earlier,
if as he goes
That was peppered.
progresses through, the lighter weight going to take away a large amount of dispersion?
Huh. That's it. So the question was, does a lighter weight take away dispersion, the ability to maintain dispersion?
Yes.
So
Yep.
I just hit 3 shots. The first one was hit after not swinging for 45 minutes. So turned it over a bit. That's a me thing. The next 2, I would argue, were pretty darn online.
I would answer that question with 100% player dependent. So increasing weight can hurt dispersion just as much as lightweight for some players. It's just finding that weight that's perfect for that specific player. So one thing we always say is play the lightest shaft you can control. And so what we mean by that is we're trying to maximize that quality of strike, which in essence will maximize your distance. And then with the lightest you can control, that club head speed is also going to be up there for you. So weight plays a big aspect in quality of strike and dispersion.
These are pretty tight.
Yeah, those are feeling. I just hear Josh laughing back there. Is making me nervous.
It's like, there's a comment that come in.
I know.
But you're off screen now, so you're probably safe.
I'm safe, so I think it's on you.
And this is like my 15th one, so I know
Yeah.
it's probably coming towards me.
Oh no, it's towards me. They're apologizing. Dax is apologizing for not being able to pick me because he can't go against a rope hat. It's like a guy at a craps table wearing a fedora. You just don't go against him.
Let's go. I'll take that compliment. I'd rock a fedora.
Yikes.
Coming soon. True Trooper PX fedoras.
That's right.
I don't know that there's much more to say out of
Those are deep.
Elevate 85, other than the fact that I'm swinging pretty hard at these.
Yeah.
You came in here with the shirt and all that, and I decided I had
think you
to
had to buck
prove
up on me a
something.
little bit.
So, like 217, I don't know what the carry was, quite a bit, but that's 85. That's so we're going the other way. I was kind of expecting that dispersion off 115. I was not expecting that off 85.
Yeah, so that's huge to see right there, and especially from that 85-gram shaft. Like you said, those lighter weight products are often a lot more difficult from a steel shaft standpoint to keep stable. So
yeah, we're moving into Apex right now. This is Elevate 95. It's 10 grams.
Can you
and
talk about the difference between those 2 shafts?
yep, so very similar. Just going to be a little bit of weight difference there, about like you said, about 10 grams,
yeah,
give or take.
really, that's not a ton of weight. When you think about it, when you put a piece of material that looks like 10 grams, it isn't that much. Players will possibly know a little bit, and I might see maybe 1 or 2 swings that I need to balance this out.
Yep. So you should see between those two, head to head, all things being equal, pretty similar numbers.
Yeah. I kind of like these Apex irons. They're not bad. They are not bad. So that, just a little bit of a pull off the line. But once again, and I don't see like a really significant change from the flex profile of it. I'm assuming sense a little bit of difference in the weight, but it's not huge.
Yep. Flex profiles will be similar between those two. That 115, when you make that big a jump, that profile is going to change a little bit, but still be for that mid-range rate.
That was a little heavy.
Definitely a higher launching product.
Not a good story there. We haven't really been taking a close eye on peak height. I think if I remember correctly, I was getting some really, really solid elevation out of these.
See what you did there.
It's true. I mean, it's not my fault. It's part of the simulator. I've been looking at it for days now. So peak height, and I kind of chunked that one still at 37. My average has been about 40 yards of peak height. I'm a high ball hitter, so.
All right. And it will be interesting. I'm interested as you progress up to the 115s because a player your speed necessarily wouldn't usually play the 85 or 95.
Yeah.
And what I assume you have stiff flex right there.
Yep.
So when you pump up to that 115, I'm interested to see if your spin actually goes up from the standpoint of that's a shaft that fits you better and you're actually getting some trail deflection with those.
Yeah. So
I'm interested to see that.
I do typically play that like 110 range. I'm fairly comfortable there. So it's not like a big step away from what I'm used to. Certainly not in the 130 range. You're probably like 134. You adding weight.
We got with him going from the 2 different elevates, so the 10 gram difference. Where is that weight? Is it dispersed evenly across the shaft?
It is in that case. So for Elevate 95 and 85, it will be evenly throughout the shaft. So they're both parallel tip options for us. And it will be. So they both will have the same reinforced tip section weight-wise. Same balance points throughout, so just reinforced.
Let me hit one more with these. If there's any other questions about the 95s and the way they're paired with Apex, go ahead and ask them now, and then we'll switch into the pros, which have the 115s.
Mm-hmm.
They also want to know, does shaft weight change the spin profile?
So shaft weight is going to be one of the biggest determinants of profile and of flex. I'm not going to use the term flex, but of profile. So what we know is all flex is not created equal. So what I mean by that is the 95 gram elevate stiff and say dynamic gold stiff at 130 grams, they're going to be stiff flexes for that specific product, which are made for a specific player profile. But as far as those stiff flexes go, that dynamic gold is going to be much stiffer because it has a lot more weight going on there. So I would say 90% of the time, 95% of the time, the heavier the product, the stiffer the profile is going to be.
So there's a nice little number for us, 45 yards of peak height.
That's
I'm
really
not
nice.
too surprised because I think DCP is a little bit more aggressive than Apex.
Makes sense.
Even when you add that 10 grams, you're still seeing really, really positive flight.
And I will say what was good for those last two is your spin got knocked up a little bit too. So that strike was starting to get centered for you with that 95.
Yeah. That's a good one. I do want to take a moment to say, if you are enjoying this, we will be here all week. We do have a ton of awesome content on THP TV. Once again, thanks to True Temper for being a part of this. Keenan, really glad to have you. If you are enjoying, again, please do take a chance or take a moment to like the video, subscribe on whatever you're watching on. The content will be available on pretty much all socials, our forum, and we'll be streaming all week, which is crazy, including tonight, which is going to be a bloodbath.
It will be. I'm excited. We got some Nashville hot chicken lined up. Is it before or during?
Right before.
Oh, well, that's two different answers. So I don't know which one to
so
believe.
I think the answer is,
What are you talking about?
I think the answer is you're going to be experiencing it during.
Okay, so I get a cry on camera during, and I know at least I know where the nearest bathroom is. So
I think there's a hard rule when there's enough people in a room where you got to find another one a little bit further away.
if the live screen just goes black,
How does Hazardous compare to RDX?
perfect.
Construction.
Definitely.
The question is, how does Hazardous compare to RDX?
Yep. So we'll compare the black models first. So from the original Hazardous Black to Smoke Black, a few big differences there were with the popularity of the Hazardous brand, the Hazardous Black product. We wanted to widen those flex progressions so more players could enjoy it. So we made that 5.5 a little softer than the original Hazardous Black 5.5. Then we added that 6.0 in there, then widened that flex dispersion to the 6.5. And we also raised that balance point a bit because the original Hazardous Black was really low balance point. So the swing weight got really heavy for a lot of players. And then with RDX Black, we stayed more in line with that Smoke Black profile. So it's still going to be wider flex progression so more players can play it. It's going to be very similar to Smoke Black in terms of profile and feel. We didn't try to reinvent the wheel there. That big difference is just going to be, once again, that Hexel material, just that quality of the material going into the product.
So I switched to Apex Pro.
Mm-hmm.
You notice that peak height there?
What do we got?
47 yards.
There you go. And that
I think
back's
it's
back up
launched.
to 4.8 too.
Yeah. And I got a ton of carry out of it. So we're hitting, should be 6 irons. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got a little more loft there, I assume. And then also that
And
shaft weight. It's probably.
I think this is a good time to go back and talk about dispersion. The question that people asked about dispersion, that was pretty tight. I leaned back a couple times because I thought if it ends up stop flying, it might actually go in the hole. We've never had one in the tech studio, so it's a big deal for us. Jeremy actually bounced one out the other day. It was pretty sweet.
You've never had me in the tech studio, so.
Do you want to say that to the camera or just like enough that they can hear it?
I think they could hear it.
Okay.
That way, when it doesn't happen
Okay.
later, I don't feel too bad.
Back to the dispersion, though. It's been pretty tight the whole time. I've gone 20 full grams of weight difference. I guess it'd be 30 grams, actually.
You want to check that? Or are you going from the 85?
85 to
Yeah,
115. We get a full 30 grams of difference.
Yep.
I really like that, especially those guys out there who are wanting to blend. They can blend them in a bunch of different ways, whether it's blending weights, blending the actual sets into what they have. I think they all pair really well with the heads that you've selected here to put them in, and I like that a lot.
No, yeah, they did. I mean, that's something we work on hard with our OEM partners, and it's a year and a half long process. I mean, once that Apex launches out for this one, for example, we're working on their next iteration with them for probably in a couple months. So it's definitely a year and a half process to really dial in and marriage those shaft and head combos.
once again, straight down the line.
That's deep.
I'm feeling this setup. I really like IO.
A question's come up a couple of times about walking through how you work with your OEM partners to find a shaft that's not just let's get the cheapest shaft. How working with the heads to find the right fit.
Definitely. So obviously it depends on, what they're releasing. So if they're releasing more of a game improvement product, more players product, that's going to almost determine the profile of the shaft a little bit to some extent. So usually that game improvement product is going to be a lighter weight, higher launching. That more players profile is going to be a little heavier, lower launching. And then between there, we really go through a couple new product designs we're working on, a couple new brands we're working on, see if any of those pique their interest from a brand standpoint. And if they do find, say, a new brand they like or an existing brand they like, and that new product design we're working on, then we send it over to them and tweak it with them for certain products and just get their feedback on it and see what they like the best to match their head and what they're going for.
Ready for IO?
Let's see it.
That
thing is butter.
Let's do a little bit of a refresher on IO because we talked so much already about Elevate.
Yep.
IO represents something, obviously. Project X represents something, obviously. What is so different when you have a Project X shaft release, and what is IO intended to support?
Well, whenever we have a Project X steel shaft release, it's going to be something special, something big. It's not a line we add a lot to. So it's a line we're very protective of. We want to only add products that we truly believe in and that serve a purpose in that line. And so with the IO product, that individually optimized story really stemmed from even players playing the same shaft model don't need the same thing from it in different flexes. So that 5.5 player is different than that 6.0 player, who's different than that 6.5 player. So each shaft's going to get 5 grams heavier. The geometry is going to change a little bit to alter that ball flight and lower that ball flight a bit. And once again, it's a product for us, for that Project X line that's so different due to the fact Project X is usually seen, as this tour player line, super stiff line. And that IO kind of adds that midweight to lightweight option that's very user-friendly with still getting that stability of Project X. And like you said, it looks pretty good too.
I'd like to know the weight of this shaft.
So this one's 110 that he's hitting right now, which is your usual playing weight.
Yeah. And am I correct in that when you change the flex point, does it get a little bit heavier?
So you can do it for the IO specifically?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. So is it 5 grams per flex point?
5 grams per flex point.
Okay.
Dan, they'd like you to kind of talk through, as you're hitting these pretty darn well, how you choose your shaft, your iron shafts, and why you would go with something other than this. Does that make sense?
Great question.
For me specifically?
Yes.
Keenan is eagerly waiting this question to be answered as well. I don't make a lot of big iron changes, shaft changes. I commit to something. I get really comfortable with the profile. I play it for a long time. And actually, the last time Keenan and I hung out, again, shout out to Scott, we had a really fun talk about Dynamic Gold SL, which was like the OG for me. It was the original one. You know? So I just I get really comfortable. I'm a guy who, obviously, I don't have a ton of problems making transitions, but once I get out there on the course and I start to swing hard or soft or try and finesse or whatever I'm doing, I'm always looking for that one thing. And I feel like every time I come back to Project X IO, and I think this is a story for this week for me, between the Apex Pro and the X-Forge CB, I think it's IO that's really standing out between the two. Because they're relatively close heads, fairly close in sound, maybe a little bit hotter on the Apex Pro. And this has been a little bit harder transition for me. I would say overall the flex is going to be a little bit more stout from IO to Elevate. I'm not used to make a switch from that after hitting so many Elevate. But I hit it earlier and it was mostly IO, and I was catching a lot of grief for my dispersion, if you want to call it dispersion, because there wasn't really much of it. So I'll hit a couple more with this, see if I can get comfortable with it. Then we might have LS ready. Maybe. James says maybe, which, just loads me with confidence. Yeah, just a little bit loose right now. But that's not bad.
No, it's still not bad at all.
For a shot on an iron that isn't particularly forgiving overall, this is a performance iron. Not not too upset about that.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said before off camera, I mean, you were absolutely peppering that IO.
I wasn't
So
missing
definitely,
much.
I think going from the lightest to heaviest and that super soft profile you got adjusted to. It's
there it is.
That sounded good.
That's the one. So squaring it up a little bit, relatively close to the carry numbers, just about 190.
Yep.
Just pretty good for, I'm assuming, this is actually a 7-iron. So
that's really good. Yeah.
That's why we're not quite catching the number we're looking for. We do have the 7-iron comparison in the LS. That actually makes me feel so much better because I was like, why is the Apex Pro so much better right now? As it turns out,
we're going to deflect some of the nervousness off the tight shirt comment I got to you.
It was actually a 6 to a 7-iron, so that explains a lot. Should we just get right into LS?
That's are we good to go?
It's geared for 30 minutes. So
Uh-huh.
remind everybody,
Question.
if something happens to it, we built this in 30 minutes.
They
All right.
asked, does the weight and flex point change in the IO as the clubs get shorter?
As the clubs get shorter?
Okay.
Yes.
So no, the IO would be taper tip. So weight and everything is going to stay the same. Flex point, will relatively stay the same. It won't be a flighted set at all. So once you pick that, say 6.0, once you're dialed into that 110 6.0, it's going to be like Dynamic Gold or any other taper tip product would be throughout a set from us.
So there's one significant change here, and that we've moved from 6.0 at 110 grams. Since we haven't had enough fun changing the profiles, we're now at 6.5 flex, which is pretty stout, and 125 grams.
That was literally built in the last 30 minutes. So if the head flies off, just tell people it's not a shaft or head
I
problem.
want to be the first true temper THP issue.
So this is
want to slide back about.
it's 1:36 local time here. Keenan showed up at about 12:46 local time here.
Come on. It was like 12:31.
12:31, my bad. So within that amount of time, James was able to cut, trim, install with tour set and grip. Super excited. I can. What?
No, yep.
It's tour set. I'm actually wiping off some of the towel lint right now. I'm super excited to see what doesn't happen here.
So with LS, obviously LS is standing for low spin. What's really, really cool about it, I think for me going into the process, with a lot of people talking about standard Project X, it's already seen as a super stout low spin option. And for my, thought process, I was curious, well, how do you make something even more lower spin? Like, are you just going to make it stiffer, more stiff tip? And the way we really designed LS was super unique in the fact that it's not just necessarily, that was very nice right there.
Hey, what's up?
It's not just necessarily a stiffer Project X flex to flex. In fact, frequency and CPM should be about the same. It's what we did throughout the profile. So you'll see Project X shafts like IO and LS. They're both stepless. And with stepless designs, usually have kind of a point A to point B from butt section to tip section. So that profile is very, simplistic's the wrong word, but very just, it's linear. It's very from point A to point B.
Okay.
So what we did with Project X LS is we actually added dual taper rates. So it's the first stepless shaft to have multiple taper rates, which is a way to change the flex profile. And we softened it actually right before, between the mid section and the tip section. We put a little soft point right there and then stiffened it back up with that tip section. And what we found was that deflection number, that dynamic loft to decrease from that a little bit to provide less deflection and in turn lower spin. So really cool product that I think even feels better than the original Project X as well.
You know, I'm having a really hard time keeping it in on the grid. Please do it.
Come on.
Oh!
Yeah,
Y'all,
we're done hitting the LS.
Let me just tell you something right now. That was the politest the peanut gallery has ever been to me
I
while
mean,
live. Okay, that was great. Wow.
Honestly, listen.
So, I guess I don't need to have you go through a fitting with me because I hate these.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go.
What do you guys think at home? I mean, we're getting a lot of peak, which is not a bad thing when the
Nope.
spin's the right place. This is definitely a number. And I've always been a high ball guy. You're a high ball guy.
Mhm.
And I've been a high spin guy for a long time because I can't quite find that perfect blend of that more penetrating launch with the lower spin.
Mhm.
Playing a little softer ball, which helps me a lot to control it. I'll tell you what, man. I'm not afraid of playing wind when it's 54, 5,500 with a 7 And
Yeah.
I'm definitely not afraid of catching the greens because the descent angle is so
It's still really
strong
steep
that
with you.
it's not really going to go anywhere. Do we have questions?
Yeah, they want to know what you think about the feel as far as does it feel heavy or does it feel well balanced?
I'll tell you one thing. I think the transition from Elevate to IO was more significant than the transition from IO to LS. That was my biggest takeaway. And that was something I was worried about. I think the hardest part about the LS hitting it was knowing that it was just made. So that was like way more stressful than Elevate to IO. But the profile, I think there's enough going on for me. And this is where I fall off in a lot of that super stiff, lower launching profile shafts, is that as soon as I feel that resistance, I just get after it. And it's because I want to load it a bit. I played stiff for a long time, maybe hard stepped, and I do that because of the weight. I didn't notice a huge amount of difference.
Yeah, so with that LS, like I said, so Project X, the original Project X, from a feel standpoint, is very polarizing for a lot of players. Either love it or they hate it. LS, I think, is much more forgiving from that sense. And for instance, I would personally, standard Project X just doesn't work for me from a feel standpoint. Works for some of the world's best players, but doesn't work for me necessarily. But I could play LS because I enjoy the feel that much more.
So I wanted to get after one a little bit. Again, this is 7-iron. I wanted to see how much I could push on that, which is probably why I turned it over a bit. Those are big numbers for me, Keenan. They're not small numbers. These are stock setups.
Yeah.
Nothing's different. I oftentimes will play a little bit aggressive lofted because I de-loft a bit or take away loft at contact. I mean, that's a big number, and it's really stable all the way through. Yeah. And that's really impressed me. And I said already that I've always loved your PXI lineup. I've loved your LZ lineup because it does load. And this is where I think that transition comes from your original Project X, which I got fit the other day in the Mizuno Optimizer into PX 6.5. And that is pretty stressful because not only is that a very stout shaft, it doesn't tickle when you swing it, especially at 36 years old. So
yes,
this is like that beautiful medium where you can get that sort of profile, but it doesn't, push you to the limits of what you're capable of tolerating, right?
Yeah, especially playing that cold Ohio air.
Yeah,
I can get to you.
Yeah, I've been hiding from that for about a month and a half. Any more questions, James?
I'm really impressed with the spin numbers you're getting out of that right now.
Yeah.
Swing.
Yeah. It's a
little chunky on that one.
Little fat.
But no, so that's a product for us that we're really excited to see. Obviously, Tour was a hard year all around to get any type of new shaft in play. Graphite's a little easier, but specifically on the iron side, because those are already hard during the season to get in play. So really from this off-season standpoint and throughout this next year, it'll be really interesting to see LS blossom out there. I know from the junior side of things, which I help a lot, we have 2 of the top college players in it already.
Really?
So Ricky
Great.
Castillo and Quade Cummins are both playing it. So the response has been really positive.
Let's see if we can put one more good one out there.
That sounded
Yeah,
good.
Somebody would like to know how much spin has come off.
Oh my God.
Switched to this LS.
Spin's been pretty balanced, maybe a few hundred RPMs. I think the bigger story here is we're playing not so much in the Apex or the DCBs, so there's naturally going to be a little bit of extra spin being promoted. I am using the Bridgestone Tour B RX, which is my gamer ball. I do that because of the softer profile, cuts a lot of that spin out. It allows me as a high spin guy to have a bit more fun in my shaft choices, and that's pretty telling when I get to that somewhere between 5,000 and 5,700 in spin.
That's super playable there. And what we saw from our testing with the LS, say if you compare it to standard Project X, it was about 500 RPM on the robot and backed up on Tour by player testing. I think Woodland might have even gotten 700 off his when he was testing it.
Really?
So he, and compared to even X7 and some other stiff products on the market, it was by far and away the champion. That was what Scott set out to design was the lowest spinning steel golf shaft he could. So
my intent for Scott over the last year was to rebuild SL. And I'm pretty upset to know that he's been focused on something else, which is probably better. But you know what? We won't go there.
I'll let him know.
Not watching. Can you tell everybody that he's got the greatest position name in all golf?
What is so we got a good friend Scott in the company. What's his position?
We call Scott Coking the director of metals.
The director
of all thing metals.
Okay.
That's it.
It's just like a party over there at True Temper Project X. Do you feel like you need to hit a couple, or are you good?
Oh, after that,
Yeah, after that.
it's a lot of
They
pressure.
would like you
The
to hit
people
a
want you to
couple
hit some.
I mean, you can't wear a shirt like that and not hit
They
something.
can all switch what they're.
Oh, you got a little sweaty
So
hand
we-
on this crap.
Do I?
I don't know. You're doing it without a glove too.
I put. I'm not gonna let you borrow it,
Oh,
but
I got one.
so IO's over there. That's LS. Whatever you need to. I'm gonna get out of frame. Let you guys enjoy the power that is Keenan Phillips.
Oh boy,
From
this
True
is
Temper.
gonna hurt. I think one of the first things I said when I walked in was I've played twice in the past month, and that's probably twice in the past 2.5 months too.
Before we do hit this,
So we're gonna limit expectations.
tell everyone who's not a THP forum member what your name is on there.
Oh, KP_TT. I believe +7.
+7.
That's right.
And there's got to be a good story you'd love to tell to the folks at home.
I always get asked my handicap, and answer's the same every time.
Stock +7.
It's +7. I don't
What's your?
I don't
what's
see
your
why
Twitter-
everyone's laughing.
So that gives everyone in the forum something to talk about before this evening's competition. Want to throw out your social there so they can pepper you on Twitter as well?
Yes. So my Twitter is KP_TT_. That's what it is at the moment. We're thinking about changing it. Not
Okay.
sure.
Is this
Me.
like a family thing or what?
I usually get approval from Chris McDonald before anything.
Okay. Shout
But
out to Chris.
I have thrown out the Shaft Man
The
as an
Shaft
idea.
Man.
That's it. It's like the Batman.
That's gotta be taken.
I'd stick with. I mean, because Twitter's got all those algorithms, you know. I don't know.
That's not going to change to that.
Do you want to throw out your socials as well for the companies?
Yep. So at True Temper Golf and at Project X Golf. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever floats your boat there. Stay pretty active on it with new product releases. We also have a YouTube channel, which is embarrassing for me to plug too. I feel awkward plugging it because
I'm just trying to ice you, so it makes it worse.
usually consists of me, but YouTube channel is also True Temper Golf. So product videos there for new product releases and kind of commonly asked shaft questions in general. We try to answer them in 2
Does
3
your
minutes.
grandmother follow you on Facebook and on YouTube?
She does not have a Facebook.
Okay.
And YouTube, usually the aunts or uncles will share it with them.
Okay.
So her children, and yes, she calls them my commercials. So that's adorable.
+7 in all the commercials in golf.
Molinari the Shaft Man. That's what
I
they
love
said.
it.
I thought you were worried about something. So this is important because
Sorry, James.
Thanks.
you've been working out.
He missed the
That's-
green.
I pulled that one a touch.
This is his first swing in an hour, so I'll give him a little bit of credit. You know I'm on commentary tonight, so you have to be nice to me all afternoon.
So you can be nice to me in return.
Yeah.
Can you tell Chris thanks for retweeting this, considering we're almost over?
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, bud.
I'm just kidding.
In fairness, congratulations, Chris had a new child last week, so he's a little busy.
Oh,
Yeah, we
Chris,
saw some good
number
stuff on
Yes, it
social.
is number 2. So congrats to Chris
As a
McDonald there.
non-father, I explained the one parent tip I would give him is to get duct tape for a babysitter.
We
Yeah.
won't repeat that
There you
one.
go.
That's fine.
I wonder if anyone heard that off camera.
Fur baby dad of THP has some interesting words for Chris. I'm sure he'll take it to PMs or DMs on Twitter.
There you go.
Want to rip a couple more?
I will. So for me, 5.8 on a 7-iron is off the charts good.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna lay that out there.
Yeah.
I'm usually floating about 7,000 on 7-iron.
What's the nice thing about using Foresight's GC quad, the numbers are really accurate, so you can have confidence you can take it out to the course
Mm-hmm.
and enjoy it.
Keenan, they had a question about the IM10 shafts.
Oh.
Are they counterbalanced in both the low and mid versions?
So they're asking about counterbalance in IM10.
The low version is definitely counterbalanced. Mid version is not designed to be, so it'll be pretty neutral balance point on the mid version.
So you've hit a couple now.
We're gonna straighten that out.
And that's RX there. We got Chrome Soft X if you want. We got some Titleist.
Yeah, right.
Since you wanted some extra spin, you threw out a Chrome Soft X, I believe.
We'll see what I did. We'll
Apparently,
see what
are not
happens.
enjoying the low spin asset of
I like
Tour
that a lot.
BRX.
It feels really
I
good
can
too.
convert you. It's fine. We can talk later.
It feels phenomenal. Just got to figure out that left right here before this afternoon.
Aim right.
Yeah, the voting's
The
still
wise
open
words.
for the, or is it shut down?
No, it's open.
It's open.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
I think my start line's just off a bit too.
I'm sort of curious. Well, yeah, you definitely want to aim a bit right, and I
Okay.
think the way it sets up kind of squares you up quickly.
Because that one felt pretty good overall.
Well, that's good. Is there a reason why I was stuck playing Beauchal last night, who's a stick, and you keep hitting everything left and I don't get to play you?
To be fair, he went left into the water.
He did.
I was going to say.
He did. He went left at the wrong time.
So I think you guys are just setting this up without me and Bosch being here and not telling us where exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut Bosch some slack there.
Yeah, you both work out, though. I maintain my doughy status.
I saw those legs.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bosch for leg day.
All right. How are we doing on time, Josh?
We got about 5 more minutes to go.
Okay. We have 5 minutes to go. If you guys do have more questions for Keenan, for True Temper, Project X, Acura, I suppose exercise routines, feel free to kick them in here, and we will.
And don't forget 7 p.m. tonight Eastern.
Oh yeah, and
That's
once
it.
again, 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight, we are going to have a ton of fun. Once again, live
THP After Dark.
after dark. Last night we did enjoy some adult beverages. It may continue into this evening. You guys can come in and pick on us way more than you did today because you were way too polite. Although, I mean, there's not an awful lot to say about Elevate. That was kind of a stripe show. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you hit Elevate really well.
Yeah,
So
that's
got
cool.
2 questions now about
Hmm?
black golds.
about black gold?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to
Slide
explain
by
to me
here.
what that is?
Can talk about black gold, sure. I don't know where they're finding black gold products, but we can talk about it.
They have a
Can they
stash.
still find them?
Potentially on eBay or something.
Buried somewhere.
Yeah, so black gold was so when Rifle came out, obviously the frequency match stuff, black gold was our frequency matched version of a shaft, but it wasn't just frequency matched. I believe it was frequency matched and weight sorted a little tighter too and profile match. So it was very unique to us at the time for the industry when everything was really kind of evolving around frequency, and it was our response to the Rifle. But yeah, that's a 15-year-old product.
It's still popular. Can you
to hear.
elaborate a little bit on counterbalance and driver shafts and what it impacts with swing weight and things like that?
Definitely. So we can just grab a driver right here, for instance, or a 3-wood. Either way, doesn't matter. So every shaft has a balance point. Steel, graphite, doesn't matter. Basically, where it's going to balance with the club head on. So obviously with counterbalance, what we're doing right there is moving that balance point up a little bit. So it's providing more weight in this section of the shaft. So say you're playing your driver at 45 inches. So a counterbalance shaft to a neutral balance shaft, that counterbalance one's going to swing weight lighter because more weight's on this end of it. Or you can also play it a little longer that way if you wanted to, add more mass to the head. And that counterbalance effect will then neutralize the swing weight so that longer length won't be making your swing weight too heavy there. So counterbalancing is really unique. Some players love it, doesn't work for some players, but just provides you a little more options from a fitting standpoint.
And somebody would like to know if they wanted to play a Bryson length driver, like 48 inches, where could they find something like that?
We're working on a little something. So we have might have a treat for you this afternoon. We brought a little hazardous smoke LDX.
LDX.
So yeah, I don't think that's even been announced on social or anyone's ever seen it. So LDX, and that comes at 48 inches raw instead of 46 inches raw. So
What are we talking here? Long drive extreme?
that's it. That
Nailed it?
It could be. I mean, that could be what it stands for.
Sure.
Who's to say?
Not RDX, LDX.
That's it.
Okay.
But no, it's that way you can play it to whatever length you want on that over length standpoint. You can still tip it how you want to. Just provides a lot more options from that standpoint. And we're also working on some cool stuff with Callaway, who's coming on Thursday. Working on some cool stuff with them about some potential long drive options. So stay tuned for that.
Sounds good. Guys, do you want to wrap this one up, Dan?
I do, yeah. Once again, make sure you set your calendars for this evening, 7 o'clock Eastern. Josh,
Yes, sir.
we have another competition coming up. James over there taking on Keenan.
I got to figure out this left thing real quick.
Farm Strong versus Jim Strong. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be doing commentary, so you'll have to put up with my voice once again. It's been an incredible week here already in the THP Tech studio. We are extremely grateful to have guys like Keenan here to tell a story about your brand, and thank you again so much. Shout out to Bag Boy once again, Travis Matthew. There's a lot more to come. If you have enjoyed this, please once again like the video. Show us you are enjoying the content. Subscribe wherever you're watching if you don't mind. We got a ton of stuff coming. So thanks again, everyone. See you this evening.
Thank you, guys.